All right, so my number one, I think, was not necessarily number one because I was a huge fan of them or because they, well, I guess it does stir up some nostalgia, but I think it was more of just how, like, kind of, for lack of a better term, just kind of how asinine the whole thing is. It's just, like, absolutely ridiculous. And just yeah, and there'll be, something I'll share at the end, which is the creme de la creme of why this is just so ridiculous. So, my number 1 is the California Raisins.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So,
Oh yeah.
yes, just ridiculous, the whole thing. So, the California Raisins first appeared in 1986, and they kind of came out of this, I don't know, discussion, concern, whatever, that the California Raisin Advisory wanted to work towards getting people to eat more raisins, which that sounds like the most boring job I can think of.
Right.
Like, how can we get people to eat more raisins? You know what? I think oh, here's my letter. Not even 2 weeks. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not interested in figuring this out. But
Imagine that getting put on your to-do list at work. It's
right,
like seriously,
right,
the life
right.
of a meeting. Yeah.
Right. Send out the letters, talk to Susan, figure out how to get more people to eat raisins. You know what? I'm done. I'm,
Yeah. I went to
I've got
college for this. Really?
right. Yes, exactly. So true. Oh God. So this organization decided to get the help of a clay animation studio to put together some figures of raisins. And they came up with 4 raisins who had arms and legs. And guess what? You're not going to believe this, but they had gloves
Of course they did.
and they wore sneakers
Hmm.
because that's,
Of course they did.
yeah, because that's when I think of a grape. I think, what, a pair of, Air Force Ones would just really add to
Yeah.
this ensemble.
That's the final touch that's needed there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, of course that's what they looked like. And in the first commercial that they were in, they perform the infamous song called "Heard It Through the Grapevine" by
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye. I mean, fantastic song, can't get any better than that. I don't know how they got the rights to that. How Because I think Marvin Gaye was still alive at that point. I'm not really sure
They
how
gave Marvin Gaye a lot of money.
right,
Probably what
exactly. Because
happened.
that was a real downgrade from that song.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was the first commercial, and it was so successful and so popular that these fictional characters were given a record deal. I'm not making this up.
I did
They
not
were
know that.
they were given an actual record deal, and then this record company hired 4 professional musicians to essentially play s- r- these
Musical
raisins.
raisins. Musical
Yeah,
raisins.
musical
Yeah,
raisins.
of course.
Yeah, and
What?
and so again, this ridiculous. I mean, again, here's the thing, like, you studied at, like, Juilliard, got vocal training, worked your whole life, and then you get asked to, like, "Can you please perform as a clay animation raisin?" I mean, like, you know what? That was so disrespectful to my talent as a musician, but I'm not
Right.
making any money, so yes, I will do it. I mean,
I've gone
really?
from playing Mozart to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, that I can play, like, Beethoven with my eyes closed, right? Oh, you
Right.
want me
Yeah.
to be a raisin? Okay, great. Like,
Well, it pays the
this is
bills, I suppose.
right, this is the lowest point in my entire life. So
The
yeah,
parents are like, "You're doing what with your music degree?"
right, exactly. I told you you should have been a teacher,
Yeah.
I told you you should have been a doctor. Now
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
now you're the voice of a raisin grape. I d you are
What have
just
I done? Where did I go wrong? Yeah, as
right.
your
Do
parent.
not come to Thanksgiving. I do not want you telling grandma that you are performing as a raisin.
Well, grandma, I'm getting paid for music.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
that's nice, dear.
Right,
Don't
exactly.
go into any more details.
Right. Yeah, leave out the clay animation raisin part. Oh god. So this asinine thing was very effective, and so raisins, because just specifically looked this up, like, did the California raisins help people, like, eat more raisins, and sales went up 20%
Whoa,
as
okay.
a result of this campaign, if you will, this ad
Effective.
campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a few years later, and I guess I vaguely remember this, but a few years later, there was another California Raisins commercial. And this time, Michael Jackson and Ray Charles in clay animation form were in
What?
the commercial. Yeah.
What? I don't
You
remember
can
that at
see,
all.
yes, and I'm going to include some, some audio clips with this episode. And one thing I'll make sure to include in the show notes is a link to YouTube with the music video or whatever you want, a commercial that had a clay animation Michael Jackson in it and Ray Charles.
What a time that was.
Right,
Oh, my
exactly.
word.
Could you imagine telling somebody that, some famous musician, can't even think of a famous musician now because I don't listen to anything current, but it's like, you're
Taylor
going to be,
Swift or,
well, that's true. Yeah. Hey, Taylor Swift.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to be in a commercial with some clay animation raisins? No. Okay.
And like, you don't actually get to be in the commercial. It's a claymation version of you. We don't actually
Right.
know you in it, even though you're
Right.
super famous and an icon. No.
Right. I think Taylor Swift would be like, and this meeting is over. I'm really insulted that you even like threw that out to me as something to do.
Right. Oh, my word.
Yeah. So to kind of go along with the theme with the 7-Up spot, Cool Spot, and Chester Cheetah, the California Raisins had their own Nintendo game, which I don't know what the premise of that game was, but I should look that up.
They did not. Oh,
They
my
did.
gosh.
Yes, they had their own Nintendo game, which what would that consist of? I have no idea. Trying to get people to eat them and fulfill the promise of the California Raisin Advisory.
Maybe so.
Yeah, that must have been riveting.
Oh, I'm sure kids walked away from playing that game like, Mom, Dad, I want some raisins now. I've never been craving for raisins.
Right. I don't know what it is, but I just really feel like having some raisins right now. And you could also find California Raisins on T-shirts and lunch boxes. And I'm going to say this one piece for the end. There was, I can't believe this, there was an Emmy-nominated Christmas special that these characters were in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was like a thing in the 80s too. I feel like there's like a Christmas special, and then if the Christmas special goes well, then that might turn into like a series. So eventually So eventually the California Raisins had their own Saturday morning cartoon, which again, I think they must have been performing.
What's the premise of this cartoon? Yeah,
exactly.
what are they doing? Yeah.
Right, exactly. A drought hits and then there's no more raisins. I mean, come on now.
Right,
so,
with the drought. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And they had to stop making these commercials in 1994 because there was a sort of decrease in popularity, and because they were so expensive to make these commercials, because in 1994 we're still sort of in real clay animation mode at this point. I'm sure CGI is kind of becoming a thing, but was not sort of very expensive to do, so they just
have a
decided
Jurassic
to get rid of it.
budget to do
Right,
it.
exactly. Yeah, and so looking this up reminded me, and I completely forgot about this until researching for the show. We saw California Raisins on ice. Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
What? That was a thing?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So we weren't big like ice skaters or like ice capades or whatever, but for some reason, we caught wind of the California Raisins on ice, these big, which probably looked really, I mean, who wants to look at raisins? Are not cute. They're not like cuddle. Like, who wants to look at a weird wrinkly ball with
human sized? I'm sure they're
right.
They're not like the little tiny things like in the commercials. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. With arms sticking out like an ice skating. How they could not all fall and like ram into each other, I don't know. But apparently they must have been so appealing to us that my mom saw on a commercial or saw in the newspaper or something that these godforsaken raisins are coming to town. Better take the kids.
We should do that. Yeah,
right.
They're famous. Kids love them. Yeah.
Right. Are you free on Saturday night? No, I'm not, because
I'm actually not, Mom. Yeah.
I'm going to see California Raisins.
Right.
So call me next weekend. So yeah.
I made a note too.
Big deal.
Pictures of this because I'm sure it's horrifying.
It is horrifying. It is horrifying.
They can't not be horrifying.
Right.
milking something to death, right?
Right.
Beating the horse into the ground.
Right.
Clearly, I didn't know they were still a going concern in 1994.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I thought like
Right.
the late '80s they were done. I thought they were kind of came and went, but apparently
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I think there's like, stuffed animals, which just the thought of like,
Yeah,
like, oh, goodness,
I'll have a
I can't,
raisin.
I can't sleep without my California
Right.
raisin.
Mommy, the monsters are coming. Here's that raisin you like. Oh,
Right.
everything's good now.
Right.
Everything's
This
great.
is
Thanks,
just as
Mom. Yeah,
right. This is actually scarier than the monsters that I'm imagining in my head. So,
right. I remember
yeah,
the little plastic figurines. I
yeah,
remember seeing those in the stores, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I thought they
Ugh,
just had a moment, though. I had no idea all this like stuff came out of that.
right.
Oh my
So,
word.
so somebody had like put together like an ice skating routine,
Yeah, for giant raisins, right? Like,
right?
again, there's a choreographer, some poor choreographer, but called upon.
Right. It's like I studied dance and ice skating for 20 years.
Right. I was in the Olympics, right?
Right. And now I have to teach these.
I was the understudy for Nancy Kerrigan, and now
Exactly.
so what you're
Oh,
saying is that the California Raisins are a conga line of professional humiliation, is what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
the whole state of it.
Right. If I was a professional ice skater, I'd have been so thankful that I had that ginormous costume over my head so nobody could
No
tell.
one knows who you are, right?
You could see
Maybe I
that.
could get more work because no one sees my face.
Right. Exactly. Is there any
Again,
other
pays the bills. Yeah,
true?
right.
Yeah, laughing all the way to the bank.
I hope they were all well paid. Everybody involved with it.
Yeah, and you know what? Probably not.
Yeah, actually, probably
Nothing.
all went somewhere else. Yeah.
Right, but probably all the free California raisins they wanted, though, I'm sure. So that would be
Yeah.
worth it.
For the rest of your life, you get free California raisins.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, great.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's just the
Interesting.
worst. Yes, so strange.
I
So
had
strange.
forgotten they weren't created to promote a particular product. It's basically just the raisin industry. Like I
Right.
actually kind of forgotten like why they were created in the
Same.
first place. I thought they were a brand of raisins, of some kind, and they were the mascot. I'd kind of forgotten about that.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was just like as a kid, I think I just thought it was another cartoon, another character, like not associated with anything. I just like, oh,
Yeah.
California raisins, like cool, like beach. There's all these stereotypes that
Yeah,
when
true.
you grow up in the Midwest, is like, oh, California's this like real exotic, warm, amazing surfing,
Right. Sunny all
know,
the time.
right,
Yeah.
thing. So I didn't even think, connect it with like promoting eating raisins.
Right. And they were cool,
So
right? They were jazz musicians. Didn't one that have a
yes,
saxophone and yeah, they
yes,
were like all these cool
yes,
jazz musician raisins. Yeah.
right.
Jeez.
Nothing says
Wow.
jazz like a claymation raisin. I
Raisin.
mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and just,